In the fall of 1996, in the quiet countryside of Texas, a rancher and his young granddaughter were riding along a stream that cut through their land. That's when they noticed something lying near the water's edge. From a distance, it looked like a dead calf. They didn't think much of it at first, but later that night, the little girl couldn't shake what she had seen. She told her grandfather it didn't look like an animal. It looked like a person. The next morning, the rancher went back alone. What he found would haunt that small border region forever. Floating along the bank of Belton Creek was the body of a teenage girl with sandy-colored hair. She had been shot multiple times. One of the blasts had struck her head, making her nearly unrecognizable. Police would later identify her as 16-year-old Heather Rich, a high school student from Waurika, Oklahoma, just across the Texas state line. Her father confirmed it was her after recognizing a gold ring she always wore, a birthday gift he had given her. Heather Rose Rich had grown up in Waurika, a small, tight-knit town where people believed serious crime didn't happen. She was known as cheerful, bright, and outgoing. Petite, with blue eyes and an easy smile, she was popular in school. Her brothers played football. She was a cheerleader, an honors student, even nominated for homecoming queen. From the outside, her life looked picture perfect. But in the weeks before her disappearance, something had started to shift. Small-town boredom can be dangerous. Nights were often spent cruising back roads, hanging out in parking lots, drinking, experimenting, pushing limits. Heather had begun drifting into a crowd that stayed out late and chased excitement wherever they could find it. Just days before she vanished, she had been caught drinking while leading cheers at a football game. She was suspended. Her parents were furious. Tension at home was already high. Her father had recently been injured at work, and money was tight. Her mother was working longer hours. Heather was helping care for her dad. Everything felt heavier than it had before. Then, on the night of October 2nd, just before midnight, a neighbor saw Heather climbing out of her bedroom window. By morning, she was gone. She missed a therapy appointment her parents had insisted she attend after her suspension. When they tried to report her missing, police brushed it off, assuming she had run away. In a town like Waurika, teenagers leaving for a few days wasn't unheard of. But rumors began swirling almost immediately. Some claimed they saw her walking along the highway, trying to hitchhike. Others said she was riding in a truck with two boys. There were sightings at a phone booth, even whispers that she'd been seen at a strip club. Every story led somewhere different. 6 days later, 35 miles south, the truth surfaced in the most horrific way. Heather's body had been dumped beneath a bridge in Texas. She had been shot 9 times with a shotgun. It wasn't random. It wasn't a robbery. It was personal. Investigators from Oklahoma and Texas joined forces, bringing in the Texas Rangers and the FBI. As they dug deeper, they uncovered something many parents in town didn't want to believe: a hidden drug culture operating quietly in the shadows. Meth use, dealers, houses where teenagers gathered and no one asked questions. Eventually, suspicion narrowed to 3 young men: Josh Bagwell, Randy Wood, and Curtis Gimble. The evidence began to line up. Shotgun ammunition matching the murder weapon had been purchased just before Heather disappeared. One of the men owned a Mossberg shotgun, consistent with the type used in the killing. When 2 of them finally spoke to investigators, the story that emerged was disturbing. Heather had met up with them that night. Alcohol flowed freely. She became heavily intoxicated. What followed was a series of assaults. And when panic set in, when they realized what they had done, fear took over.
Instead of calling for help, instead of facing consequences, they chose violence. She was shot again and again. Then her body was driven across state lines and dumped in the creek, as if that would somehow distance them from the crime. It didn't. All three were arrested and tried separately in Texas. Each received life sentences. Years later, they remain behind bars, with parole hearings said decades after the crime that shattered a family and stunned 2 states. Heather Rich's story is one of small-town innocence colliding with hidden darkness, of peer pressure spiraling into brutality, of a single night where a series of terrible decisions became irreversible. And it all began with something that looked from a distance like a dead calf by a quiet Texas stream.